I knew myself as the most peaceful, chill, patient dude in the world. People would tell me that all the time. And then I had kids and I was like, whoa, where did that come from? Who was that? Where did that anger, rage come from? I didn't even know that was in me.
Yeah.
I mean, I did, but I didn't know these little kids would come pre-programmed to press those buttons. And so as a dad, it's sort of, you can learn to connect with your heart, like proactively, or you can struggle with the symptoms of not connecting with your heart. I really think that's, maybe that's simplified, but yeah, fathering from the heart on purpose with intention is going to get you more mileage out of your fathering. Yeah.
Let's take a collective breath for that. Welcome to the Peaceful Pop-Up Podcast. I'm Ravi, your host. Together, we'll slow down, breathe, and explore grounded fatherhood with greater peace and presence. I'm grateful you're here. Enjoy the show. Gentlemen, here we go. Welcome to the Peaceful Papa Podcast. I'm your host, Ravi Rothenberg. And today, episode number 11. This is not my first time having two guests, but it is my second time having two guests. And really grateful to be in the presence of Noah Goldstein and Dave Bonaiuto.
Hey, nice work.
Did I get it?
Perfect.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure to be here. Excited to see what unfolds.
Yeah. I had the privilege of listening to your podcasts recently. I listened to a transmission of the Council of Fathers. And before we get into our introductions between the two of you, as you know, we have a special way that we like to introduce our guests to get to meet them in this moment. But first, I want to hear your origin story. What brought you two together to do the work that you are doing in the world?
Well, Dave and I have been friends for several years. And should I explain what we do first, or?
That's totally up to you.
Okay.
The listeners will learn what you do, but you can give a brief synopsis of what Council of Fathers is.
Yeah, so we started this organization, Council of Fathers, to support dads, right? And we started out by running men's groups for dads. And I remember 6 months into my first kiddo's life, she's now 11. There was one night and I was kind of scrolling through my phone, feeling lonely, feeling isolated. I don't know where my wife was that night, but I was just like, and I was just like, no, I already reached out to them. They're in a different time zone. Just like making excuses not to actually, hit call.
Like connect with dads or
just
connect with
just
somebody.
Anybody.
You're just looking for
I was
connection.
feeling lonely. Gotcha. Yeah, and I just ended up like just having this cathartic cry, and just recognizing that the path that we walk as dads can be really isolating. And so I was like, something needs to change about that. But I was 6 months into being a dad and I didn't feel like, I was going to be the one to necessarily. 6 years into it though, was when I was finally like, fuck it. I don't need credentials. I don't need, I had been in men's groups for years. And and so I didn't want to go at it alone necessarily. Actually, the first time I think I invited you kind of as a plant, and with the intention of potentially becoming collaborators down the road. And and so we first started doing some drop-in men's groups, and then COVID hit, and then we brought it online for a while and started doing more cohorts. And so that's, I don't know if that explains that. I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, it just, Noah said we'd been friends for years prior to this. And so we were in the same social, group, and we call ourselves family. We spend a lot of time together, and had deep conversations. We connect. But when we started doing this work, a different level of connection surfaced for the two of us. And it became clear right away that when you invite a bunch of dads together and hold a space in a certain way, a different kind of conversation can happen. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it's been beautiful. The offering has been beautiful for the dads we serve, but it's also been beautiful for our friendship. It's a huge part of our connection.
That's such a gift. That's one of my challenges with this work. I'm in other men's groups and I have accountability and support and all the things, but when it comes down to like the nitty gritty and like creating the thing and doing the outreach and building the website and the social media, it's like, damn, it's just so solo. So to have that counterpart, that confidant, all the things as a collaborator, it must be really enriching and nourishing.
I had learned through a previous work endeavor experiment that I didn't want to be in solopreneurship, and
Nice.
And I think there's a values aligned piece for me and for both of us around avoiding any kind of alpha male energy and modeling what leadership can look like in a collaborative kind of way. And it's been really beautiful to sort of, just the back and forth, and the I step back and Dave steps up and vice versa. And I think there's a way in which that also is a great expression of how we can be with our wives, with our parenting partners. And and so I think that's sort of intentional also.
Yeah, you're modeling attunement, you're modeling communication and sharing space. Like there's so much that as the leaders of our family, I imagine the men you work with are picking up on these cues just by witnessing and being in proximity to the way you guys are in dynamic.
Yeah, that's the hope, I guess, and the intention. Yeah. Part of the intention. Lots of intentions. We'll get into that.
I had a podcast guest recently who said that your intentions are fundamentally bullshit. He's very anti-intention. And when he said it, I'm a man of intention as well. So when he said it, I was like, well, screw you, man. But then he really beautifully shared why intention is just not enough. That the practices and the action needs to follow. Before we go too off into tangent land, I'd love to meet the two of you. Let our audience feel you in this moment. Who's feeling bold and would like to go first?
Sure, I'd love to meet me too. So
right,
seems like an opportunity.
Let's go. Well, Dave, I spoke a little bit about it. You watched me model it before we started the show.
Appreciated that.
Head, and somatically, we're going to place the hand on the head. Heart, hara is the journey. Head are the facts. This is who you are, what you do, where you're from. You're at a networking event and you're just really staying in the surface level of sharing about yourself. From there, we honor the head and drop into the heart. And you can speak from I feel and give us a taste of some of your emotional state that is alive right now. So we've honored our emotions. We can drop all the way down to the core of your being, just underneath the belly, your hara. What is really at the depths of Dave? What is alive? What do you want? For yourself, for your family, community, humanity, wherever you want to take that. No pressure.
Yeah.
All right, hand on the head. And when you start speaking, we'll start energetically listening.
All right. I am 50 and a half. I just had my half birthday. Thank you very much. Yes. I'm a therapist in private practice, in Boulder here. I see all my clients are men, and my practice is called Living and Working on Purpose. And I just mentioned that because that's the work that I intend, aspire to do in the world, is to help people connect with their purpose. I have 2 kids. I have a 13-year-old son named Rafi and an 11-year-old daughter named Anya, and a beautiful wife inside and out, Rachel. And I partner with my dear friend here, Noah, to offer men's groups to dads through Council of Fathers. I'm from the East Coast. I'm from Connecticut. Came out here in 2000 to go to grad school at Naropa. Yeah, that seems like enough data for now.
Appreciate the share.
I feel surprisingly dropped in, a little giddy, and very intrigued. Oh, and I'll offer a new emotion that my daughter taught me, which is nerve-sighted.
Nerve-sighted.
Nerve-sighted, yes. A little combination of nervous and excited.
Yes, Anya.
Noah and I just did some values work with a group lately, and my top values include self-knowledge, and my deepest desire is to keep knowing myself, keep expanding myself, like enlarging, that's a word, becoming more and more my authentic self, through inner work, but also through relationship. And my longing is that ripples out and affects as many folks as possible in a positive way, brings them more authenticity and peace and sort of a engagement in life with all its wrinkles.
A breath for that.
That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for dropping in. Thanks for sharing the layers. I won't go into story about what you shared. I jotted down some notes and excited to trust that a few of those insights and depths will resurface.
Cool.
Yeah. But nice to meet you. Nice to feel you.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, we'll draw our attention over to your counterpart, Mr. Noah.
Okay. I am Noah Goldstein. I am a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine and a coach, and I help people reconnect with their wholeness and find ways to express it more fully so that they can live their vibrant lives. We do that through my private practice with my wife, Heartseed Health. I am a husband in loving partnership with my beautiful wife, who for now almost 15 years. And I'm a father of 3 beautiful children. Hazel's 11, Zephyr is 8, and Netta is now 4. And they are incredible. So grateful for them every day. I'm a gardener. I'm a runner. I am a lover of nature and ecologist and naturalist. And I'm a pursuer of expansive consciousness and relationship to spirit. It kind of whistles its way through a lot of what I do, how I've become who I am and why I am who I am.
Strong.
I feel grateful. I feel inspired. I feel really plugged in and connected to whatever vast thing animates this thing we call life. I feel curious. And I think I feel a little nerve-sided. I'll take that too. Yeah.
What do you want?
What do I want? I really, really want for more and more people to be living from their wholeness, to have access to a felt sense of how much the world loves them, both through the people in their lives and through just the beauty that the world is constantly bombarding us with. And I also want for people to have access to their resilience and their strength and their fortitude so that they can face into the challenges that are like always there coming our way, whether we want them or not. And I want playfulness and fun and pleasure and joy to all be a part of that. And my hope in terms of what I want around that is like the more and more people that are like living in that way from those places, the more we kind of get to healthier human ecosystems, healthier natural ecosystems, and a world that's living closer to its potential in terms of what's possible. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you for that opportunity to express that. That was cool. It felt like a prayer.
Thank you for sharing your prayer and your heart and your gifts. You have so many layers. So I think one of the threads that I'm picking up between the two of you, you're a man of helping people live more on purpose, both living and working. You're a man helping others find wholeness. You're clearly living purposefully, playfully, honoring all the parts that make you uniquely you. In your perspectives, and I'll put this out, I know you guys know how to answer in some sort of harmony. What happens when we as men, and especially we as dads, are living in our wholeness, are living in our purpose? Why? Why does that matter?
I interviewed my children on the way to school this morning because I told them to be on this podcast, and I bet he's going to ask me about my own experience as a dad. And I asked them what they appreciate about me as a dad and what they think I could improve at. And
Casual
from the mouths of
conversation
babes.
on the way to work or school.
Yeah. It was fun. But it was cool. You know, there's my son was appreciating effort. Like he was suggesting that I don't just, punch the clock as a dad, but that I try to meet his needs. If he's sad, I comfort him. If he wants to throw a football, I go play with him. So he was really appreciating this sort of like above and beyond kind of aspect. My daughter was speaking to this wholeness aspect that you're asking about when she was explaining what she wishes for me, like what I could improve upon. She was suggesting that, not sorry, but I get choked up when I think about it. That the more I care for myself, the happier I am. This is her words, 11-year-old words, and I can reframe it in mine. But the more I care for myself and take care of myself, the happier I am. And the happier I am as a father, the better I am as a father. It's just brilliant. Brilliant, And in my words, that's something like, the more inner work I do, the more relational work I do, the more I can accept all the aspects of myself in an effort to sort of, connect with my authentic, true self. The more present I am, the more loving I am, and the more joy I experience in the presence of my kids, which is, in my view, maybe in our view, the biggest gift we can offer our kids is to experience joy from them, like authentically. I recently gave my own father this feedback that the greatest gift he's given me is that when we walk into the room, he lights up. Like, that's different than loving me. A lot of dads love their kids, but to light up when your kid walks in the room is something else. You feel that. Yeah. Remember that at a cellular level. So yeah, Anya's wisdom.
And why she is. I love that too. Dad, the more you care for yourself, the happier you are. The happier you are, the better father you can be and you show up as. Yeah, that's real for me too. Most mornings right now I'm finding my way to the gym. For me, movement and just getting my body activated is crucial to my happiness and my health. And while I'd love to be there every morning when right now I sleep in the big bed with my toddler, while my wife and our 6-month-old are in a separate room, separate bed. And gives me a lot of joy just to like have that experience of sleeping with my toddler. We have it's just such a cozy, connected, really intimate space. Yeah. And oftentimes I'm leaving 5:30 in the morning. And so when she wakes up and I'm not there, she's learned enough now to know like likely where I am. She'll go over to be with her mom and the baby. But it does bring me so much joy the mornings where I don't leave or where she wakes up early and we're just there together. I say that though because even though my absence in the morning might cause some stress for my wife, because she's like, I needed the extra sleep. And then our daughter came in and interrupted us. But when I come home from the gym, it's like 7 or 7:30 and I'm radiant and resourced and present. And there's a whole parade for me when I walk in. And my wife reflected back recently. She's like, when you take care of yourself and then come back to the house so resourced for all of us, it matters tremendously.
So true. Yeah. That quality over the number of minutes, you're clocking. It's like how you're showing up, not just when, right?
It's that 5% that's going to stick with them that I remembered.
Oh,
totally.
Yeah. Right.
Inside joke between us. Cool. Yeah, I love that. Noah, anything you'd like to add on wholeness, purposefulness?
I think that the wholeness and the purposefulness help us lean in, help us be real human beings that have a hard time sometimes, and that have a great time other times. And when we own that, when we embody that, and when there's no shame or guilt, and it's just clean, then that's creating a different kind of relationship and a different kind of model of how they get to be. And so, yeah, I mean, I just, last weekend there was this this winter fair, and my older daughter got herself a cup of hot chocolate with like marshmallows and these little candies in it, and I was like, oh, can I have a sip? And it was like very, very sweet. And then she's so sweet that actually she has a big sweet tooth and she couldn't even finish it. And there's the second half of the cup. My 4-year-old really wanted it, and I let her drink some of it. And then she there were these the marshmallow mush on top. It was like, maybe that's enough sugar for the day. And so I kind of took that away. And then there was this meltdown, and then I got into a conflict with my wife about it because, oh, it's just like, let them have, once in a blue moon, because mostly they're eating so healthy. And I was able to feel the pain, like, like there was a miss there with my daughter, and like letting her have this experience, like this joyful, even if it's like a little, distasteful to me, and a miss there between me and my wife around like, well, what are our shared values, and where do we have boundaries and rigidity around things, and where do we go with the flow around things? And so I was able to feel the pain of that miss, but not get like lost in it.
Yeah.
And not shame spiral, and able to like meet it and then work through it, and then also repair and like, reconnect and turn it into an opportunity for deepening and understanding, and between me and my wife and between me and my daughter. And yeah, and so like I feel like the resource of the values of the purpose and contact with my own wholeness were a big part of me navigating that situation with more grace than maybe I would have 5 years ago, or yeah.
No, what I love about your approach to just life is like, I just want to mirror back some things that you shared. Like, one is your curiosity, and that you're plugged into the vastness of life. You took a meltdown with some hot chocolate and you made it this interpersonal, relational opportunity for healing and connection and repair. And I think that's what makes you so unique.
Thank you.
And so thank you for just all the work that you've done to even have that perspective.
Yeah. So sometimes I go a little overboard with that, but yeah.
No. No.
Yeah. But yeah.
And who calls you out when you are going a little overboard?
It's usually my wife. And yeah, I feel like you would if that came up. But and actually my men's group often, like, I'll get like, sometimes a thing is just a thing. It doesn't have to have like deep existential meaning. Yeah, I feel like I hear that from my men's group. They're probably listening to this now and laughing.
And it can be a both and, right?
Yeah.
It can just be the hot chocolate, and it can be this
exactly
really fertile ground for conversation.
Yeah.
Gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
That's right. You guys play poker much?
I don't.
Never. I mean, once upon a time, but not these days. Yeah. I'd love to.
Okay, we'll do a conscious dad's poker game.
Peaceful poker.
Peaceful poker.
I like it. I like it.
Nice. Just that seed is planted.
Would we use something other than money? Or
Raisins?
Where'd raisins come from?
That's what we use for the Hanukkah, like the dreidel games and stuff.
Sometimes. Cool.
We'd use chips to play, but the buy-in, it could be something more meaningful, like the we'll come up with something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that feels good. Men, before the podcast started, we were talking a bit about initiation.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to check in. Is there still some charge around leaning into what it means to be an initiated father?
It's funny. Dave and I were just talking about this yesterday in a little meeting, because we've created this new online program called Fathering from the Heart.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that it's, as close to an initiatory experience as you can get with an online program.
Mm-hmm.
And recognizing that I think there's kind of two ways that initiation happens. It just sort of happens, right? You become a father, and now you're initiated into being a father, right? You get married, or you become a husband, and now you're initiated into it. But in times past, there was more of a holding, and more of a process, more of a guidance, and a ripening into who you can be before you actually get initiated in. And to me, that is actually what initiation does. Is it allows us to be in whatever role we're in with wholeness.
Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly what I see as missing in our culture, in the world, is that you become an adult at some point. With maybe you graduate college, maybe you graduate high school, maybe you get your first job, I don't know, somewhere in your 20s or 30s, you all of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm a grown up. But like you, and without something there, some process, some ritual, and some container, and some witnessing, mm-hmm. you don't know yourself to be what you are. Mm-hmm. And you can't fully inhabit the role, or the responsibilities that come along with it. And so to me, there's something really important about going through grief processes, letting go of what we were, right, to become who we are becoming, feeling into the wounds that if they're still scabbed over and not fully scarified, will prevent us from actually showing up in the ways that we need to be showing up, right? And obviously this is like, it's an ongoing process, but I feel like there are certain like stages and landmarks, and that divide like a before and after in a way. And so to me the whole notion of initiation is the whole notion of coming into wholeness. And part of that's also like integration. We started mind, heart, gut, right? Mm-hmm. And in our culture, a lot of us as men, we're like living up here, mm-hmm. and we have no connection to heart. We and we don't listen to our like gut and what it's trying to tell us. And so part of an initiation also involves learning to listen to this, and learning to listen to this, and letting it all kind of be in dialogue and conversation. And so so I think that is a really crucial missing piece to the puzzle for a lot of men around manhood and around fatherhood.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
What he said.
Smart.
Yeah.
It's a nice get out of jail free card. Yeah. Oh, Noah just waxed poetic.
Yeah.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Why fathering from the heart? I also have a personal relationship with all things heart-centered. I think it's such a, as you mentioned, the collective, we're spending most of our days really in a heady space, and that is not where connection happens. It's not where authenticity and truth and expansion can really live. And I think there's something bold about being manly, fathers, but being like, hey, let's do it from this heart space. Did you guys have any resistance to fully embracing fathering from the heart, or what was the journey and what's the medicine if we are fathering from the heart?
I feel hesitant to jump into two questions in a row, but I also feel
Compelled.
Is that okay?
Follow your compulsion.
Okay.
I won't use the. I already used my get out of jail
That's
free,
right.
so I'll elaborate.
And I'll maybe be briefer. I think there's two things that kind of come to mind for me. First of all, in Chinese medicine, and I'm deeply steeped in that, the heart is the seat of consciousness. It's where spirit actually comes through and into us. It's and so I think we both share a strong value and sense of the importance of connection to spirit, and that can mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people. But there's something there about depth. There's something there about the uniqueness of each of us as an individual. And there's also something there about connection to something greater. Yeah. And then the other piece is this word tender that keeps coming up for us in the work that we do. And I think there's a lot of focus in the men's movement currently around like warriorship.
Yeah.
And leaning into challenge, and and I think that for us, we really want to like lean into tenderness. Actually, we really want to create spaces where men get to be gentle with each other, get to hold each other in the ways that sometimes our wives or partners can't, because they've got babies sucking on them and leaning on them, and like creating emotional intimacy, right? And to me, all of that feels like it's coming from the heart space. And I'm gonna pass it over with just this piece around kingship, and how that I think lives in the heart in a way. And I hope that's a good setup.
Well, maybe I'll get around to that, but I'm just as you're talking, I just want to acknowledge that I'm one of those men, I think, who sort of has struggled in the past to connect, proactively, intentionally with my heart. That maybe my instinct as an introvert and as someone socialized to be, with certain messages, in New England, coming up like protecting my heart, and not wearing it on my sleeve. When I came out here to Colorado, I started meeting some men who could sort of like have fun and be silly and cut up and also drop in, and I was like, oh, wow, that's my people, and I so appreciated the ability to do both. And when I met Noah, I think Noah leads with this real ability as a man to sort of own his heart and his connection to his heart that I learned from. And I think he's one of the first men who has told me that he loves me and like really meant it. There's a lot of men in my life who say, love you, buddy, love you, man. But the way Noah says it is different. And so in my journey, I've I just want to acknowledge that I'm not as quick. I didn't come up with the title "Fathering from the Heart," for example. That there are a lot of aspects of this work where Noah sort of leads me there, and I trust him, and so I follow, and then I'm grateful I did. So I just want to acknowledge that. And my work, I do a lot of emotionally informed, emotionally focused work with men in my private practice, and just find it so valuable to grow a vocabulary of feeling and emotion, because then there's just so much more available. And if you don't connect to your heart, this is the sort of negative way to put it, it's gonna have its way with you, right? Like if you don't work with your emotions, your feelings, they will work you, and that's, I think it's safe to call that a fact. It's certainly my experience. And there's nothing like a child to point that out. So I sort of, I love this t-shirt my wife saw when we first had our son. She saw this t-shirt that said, "I was a much better parent before I had kids." Right. And I love that. And I think about it all the time. I knew myself as the most peaceful, chill, patient dude in the world. People would tell me that all the time. And then I had kids and I was like, whoa, where did that come from? Who was that? Where did that anger, rage come from? I didn't even know that was in me.
Yeah.
I mean, I did, but I didn't know these little kids would come pre-programmed to press those buttons. And so as a dad, it's sort of, you can learn to connect with your heart, like proactively, or you can struggle with the symptoms of not connecting with your heart. I really think that's, maybe that's simplified, but yeah, fathering from the heart on purpose with intention is going to get you more mileage out of your fathering. Yeah.
Let's take a collective breath for that. I had a previous guest who shared that, emotions are not just some box you tick. They add so much richness to your life, to your connections, your relationships, and that we're doing ourselves a disservice if you're not tapped into that emotional landscape.
Yeah. You could call it vitality. You could call it life force energy. And you could call it like the doorway, the trailhead to states, very enjoyable states of being, And so, if you're robbing yourself of those emotions, you're also robbing yourself of compassion, courage, purpose, meaning, I think.
Yeah. When we're conditioned as men, as boys, not to feel our feelings, not to express our feelings. And I mean, it's not an easy switch, right? It's not like, oh, let me just like start feeling my feelings now, or like maybe I'm comfortable with anger, but grief, or fear, and one of the crazy parts is that because we were taught we're not supposed to express our feelings or feel our feelings, the feelings themselves become a threat, which elicits the threat response, the fight or flight response. And so all of a sudden, even just the notion that like, oh, there's a feeling here, it's like, well, then we're going to get into either a fight response or a freeze response, and that just compounds the notion that feelings are threatening. And we start to mistake, like, oh, this is anger. Like, no, that's not anger. That's a fight response, right?
Mhm.
You know, oh, this is what sadness feels like. No, that's what being frozen feels like, right? And so there's, a whole process that we have to be able to find a space that that we can feel safe and supported to be able to feel the feelings, to learn that they're not dangerous, that they're not going to hurt us, and that we're actually less likely to hurt others while feeling our feelings than we are in avoidance of feeling our feelings. And so I think that there's just a lot of relearning and reworking that we get to do as men, and it's such an enriching experience and process. And I guess what also happens in the process sometimes is like, you notice, oh shit, there's this backlog of like anger I haven't felt, like of 30 years worth of anger. And that can then again get you back into the fear of like, oh, and the threat response of like, I'm just gonna get washed away if I open up that dam, game
not
over,
safe.
right? And it's like, well, the reality is you can do it one bucket at a time, and you build capacity, and all of a sudden, you started with a teaspoon of anger, and you felt that move through your system. You're like, oh, this is actually empowering. And
I want to pause you. It sounds nice in theory to like titrate and intentionally lean into emotions and, I'm going to try out this one. And I got this one. I think the reality for most, we'll just stick with through the lens of men, is that emotions, that dam of emotions, are just totally getting blocked. And then when they do come out, they come out totally sideways.
Yes.
Often hurting themselves or a loved one. And so what I also want to just presence is that for us, it's often an emotional initiation of like, oh, wow, that was the first time that I let the floodgates open. And I felt my feelings. I raged or cried hysterically. And again, in my experience, I'm, even as we talk about this, going through the relationships that ultimately I sabotaged because I couldn't be with my emotions. And when it got too intense, they came out sideways. My intensity was too strong, too much, or I said the wrong thing. And then I said the wrong thing again to reinforce what I said. And that for me is also, this emotional initiation, at first cracking open and all the pressure that's behind that. So all that said, what would be your advice for the dad who's either having emotional outbursts or the opposite, feeling totally emotionally repressed and numb, and how to actively engage in a process of leaning in and meeting their emotional body?
I think the first thing I'd say is don't try to do it alone. And because I think that's another conditioning thing that we have is like, well, I got to figure this. Let me read the book. Let me listen to the podcast. Let me listen to the audio, and like, I didn't get here like without therapists and coaches and, like and men's groups. Same. And so I think that like my first piece of advice would be to allow yourself to receive support and guidance, and to allow yourself to invest in support and guidance that, like, I mean, I work with people all the time, and I use acupuncture to help stabilize the nervous system and offer people a way of not getting overwhelmed, so that, and I'm not the only one. Like, there's a bazillion therapists, a bazillion coaches out there. Not everyone's as good, right? You can't always be sure that like you're going to find the person that can, but we run men's groups. There's lots of people running men's groups, and like, again, you can't always be sure that they're gonna have a heart-centric emotional intelligence focus. But yeah,
I'm excited. Can I pause you again?
please.
When I went to India and I did a yoga teacher training, totally uprooted my life.
Yeah.
In essence, like one way to India. And when I was looking through the programs, there was one that said emotional blockage release protocol. And I was like, that. And at the time, I just sabotaged a relationship again. I was in my own emotional initiation, but as I'm scrolling through all these programs and the birthplace of yoga, that one really stuck out. And again, auspicious, today is Osho's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Osho says thank you.
Yeah.
And it would, long story short, it would turn out that the yoga teachers in this particular program were also Osho sannyasins. And they didn't tell us anything about Osho. They didn't tell us anything about these non-traditional meditations that we were doing in addition to the yoga. But that's where I was exposed to a process called Osho dynamic meditation.
Cool.
I'm going to presence it here because it's also in my journal. I'm like, I want to be a stand for bringing more men into what initiated me. And there is a center right here in Boulder where people are doing this practice weekly. We can talk more about that. But yeah, 5 stages. Have you done Osho dynamic? Have you? Ever heard of it? Amazing. I'm excited, so I'm going to go into it.
Yeah.
5 stages. It's an hour long. You are standing. You are either blindfolded or committed to keeping your eyes closed. There's a soundtrack that takes you through each of the 5 stages. First stage is rapid, chaotic nostril breathing. So you are hyperly oxygenating the body. It's chaotic. It's disorderly.
Snots everywhere.
Yes, and tissue before starting is recommended and usually available. But yeah, really want to. And also you can be like thrusting and like really oxygenating the system. You do that for 10 minutes and the music is booming and everyone's doing it and your eyes are closed and you're like, but for some people they also start and they're like, it's whatever's there. Stage 2 is catharsis. You take all that oxygen and you transition into full expression of whatever emotion is alive in you, unapologetically, unobstructed, for another 10 minutes. And really important that it's called conscious madness also. Like really important that you, even if you don't know what wants to come through, you fake it until you make it. Otherwise, you take on the madness of the people around you who are screaming and yelling and hitting the pillow or laughing hysterically or moaning or barking like a dog. You can really cathart in whatever way. But wow, such an energetic release. Stage 3 is Hu, the Sufi mantra Hu, and really you're hooing from the hara. Arms are up overhead and you're either jumping up and down, Hu, 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 or you're just lifting your heels and letting them really come down firmly. But hooing, Hu, 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 for 10 minutes straight. So you've been breathing 10 minutes, catharting, hooing 30 minutes. It goes very fast. And there are times where it feels like, wow, this is eternity. Stage 4 is stillness. The music cuts out. Osho's voice yells, stop. And you freeze wherever you were hooing for 15 minutes. And you're sweating and just, there's so much energy now moving through your channel. And just observing. And then the 5th stage, the music comes back. And the 5th stage is celebration. And you just dance. You just let your body move and express in whatever way it's being called for in accordance with the music and just your state.
Very sweet.
Sounds amazing.
Profound.
Yeah.
And this is me putting my stake in the ground that I will be rallying the men and the dads to come practice Osho dynamics. So if you're listening and you're like, wow, that sounds pretty wild, and I'm down to try.
Yeah. Cool.
Reach out.
Love it.
Yeah. You guys
And
in?
I also just want to say I love the term hooing as like a verb.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Have you hooed before?
Never hooed.
Does it make you a little nerve-sighted to think about
Nerve-sighted. Yeah. But I, just to like pull that thread. Yeah. So Noah and I talk about emotions often in 3 distinct stages. And because oftentimes I think like the most common theme in Counsel of Fathers for dads has to be getting triggered, like it's a real puzzle for dads who have been conditioned, not to show anger, but not been taught how to feel anger or how to feel other emotions that can turn into anger if we don't feel them on purpose, right? So, feeling out of control, feeling anxious, feeling
confused
scared,
is one that I
confused,
butt up against.
can often shoot up to anger as a defense against whatever emotion's happening. Yeah. So we try to, and so we think about that as one incident, and people come to us and say, what do we do in that incident, but we try to tease it apart into 3 distinct opportunities: before, during, and after, right? And so the practice is to prepare for incidents, to set yourself up for success, to, you going to the gym in the morning, or you doing Osho dynamic meditation, these practices, we have a bunch of them too, that we recommend, but, really setting yourself up
Love that.
the best you can.
Yeah.
And contrary to a previous guest, setting an intention is really, but it sounds like it's not contrary.
Yeah,
because
they're really connected because you're giving the practices.
That's right.
That is.
And there's a follow through, right? And I think that was your guest point, which is we don't just set an intention. We are trying to connect to the intention, right? We might have a little saying or something to repeat to ourselves in those moments. My favorite is, I'd rather be connected than right. That's really helpful for me to try to connect to my heart rather than my head, which wants to be right. And then after is probably the most important opportunity that we like to talk about and help people with, because processing, repairing, they're all re's, reconnecting, repairing, reprocessing. I don't know, now I'm making stuff up, but also how you talk to yourself, and we try to help dads talk to themselves how they want to talk to their kids, because most dads don't want to talk in, negative, judgmental ways to their kids. They want to talk in loving, kind ways, but then internally they're beating the snot out of themselves for what just happened. You can't do that. You can't talk to yourself one way and expect yourself to talk to your kids the other, and vice versa. So these 3 opportunities, and part of the after strategy to connect to what you're saying is sort of what we call emotional hygiene, so like going to the middle of the woods and screaming, or in your car when you're alone, great time to yell, but intentionally feeling something rather than only feeling things when something's happening. That's what I'm getting from part of what you're talking about with this meditation, is there's a time frame where you're engaging with an emotion. It starts to decouple, de-identify with the emotion. So you start having more choice, more flexibility. Emotions become less threatening. They become more something we have rather than something we are, right? And so, trying to help dads have more flexibility and choice around emotions. And part of that is intentionally bringing them up, letting them up, letting them out, directing anger somewhere other than at the people we love and care about.
What I love about that too, what your son reflected to you, this quality of efforting. Right? It takes effort.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Like if you said to me, you asked the question, like, how do you work with emotions? If you asked me, how do you learn guitar? I wouldn't say you just sit down and do it. No, it's like, you got to practice every day. So why wouldn't we want to do these practices around parenting? If it's like most dads will say, most important thing in my life is my kids. Do you spend as much time practicing the skills, the presence, the strategies as you do working out or, practicing other things in your life, being good at your job,
And I've heard you guys talk about how the really it's an art and a science, right? There's the skill and the art, but I think both require the study for the skill, the canvas, and time spent with the brush if it's an art.
Well, and I think something that hasn't been explicitly spoken, but is in what you described with the Osho meditation and in a lot of the practices that we do in the before and after, is embodiment, right? And it's and there's a way in which the emotions live in our bodies, and so the way to experience them and the way to express them is going to be through our bodies. And while often as men we're maybe working out, maybe we're running, maybe we're doing things with our bodies, but there can still be a quality of disconnection, of not fully inhabiting our bodies. For me, the 5 rhythms dancing has been like a huge piece. My wife is really into that community, and it's funny because the 5 of the pieces of the Osho sequence is what was reminding me. It's like I spent
that too.
So much time dancing with just men, dancing in mixed groups, but that there's also an arc there of moving through 5 different rhythms, accessing 5 different qualities within yourself that are related to different emotions, that are related to different gestures of living, right? One of them is chaos, right? One of them is that catharsis. And you move out of chaos into lyrical, which is this like light, fluffy, joyful place to be, and then into stillness for integration, right? And so and I think also what that just reminds me is, there's so many modalities, right? And so there's another piece of like, don't give up. If you go to this thing and you're trying to access your emotions and you hear about this great technique or style, or you work with this person and it's like maybe that's not the way for you to access it, right? Maybe there's another thing, another possibility, and maybe it is, but it's just a little uncomfortable at first. And sometimes we have to move with and through and in the discomfort to get to where we ultimately want to be. A big part of this journey is feeling the pain. And it's not fun to hear, but we learn how to build capacity to feel the pain, so that, and a lot of the discomfort of feeling pain has more to do with our resistance. Same way a lot of the discomfort with feeling emotions has more to do with, or as much to do with, our resistance to feeling them. So, and the last thing I'll just say is, like, if we're not letting ourselves feel anger or sadness or fear, right, we're not going to be as able to feel joy or playfulness or pleasure, right? And so there's a way that we get to expand, like, into everything. Yeah.
Can I share something that I'm struggling with in the moment?
Please.
I'd love your thoughts, both of y'all.
Yes.
Sometimes I feel like what we're talking about sounds so serious and like such a chore, and I'm imagining some dads being like, is it that complicated? Like, just love your kids and have fun with them, and like, they'll turn out fine. They're resilient. And a part of me feels like, yes, true. So I'm just like, this balance between using fatherhood as an opportunity to grow ourselves. Like, if that's what you want, like if you're interested in growth, fatherhood offers this incredible path. It really does. It like, it can point to everything you want to work on that's in your blind spot.
Yeah.
But I don't want to come across like, it's a chore and it's serious. And, if you're not doing Council of Fathers, you're not doing it right, like.
I would argue though.
Please.
I think I'm going to use the L word, which could take us into a big tangent. I want to be semi-mindful of time. But the L word is legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And what legacy are you leaving? Are you the dad that did effort, did the emotional work, and because of that, you took your daughter to Thailand and you went and you do all these amazing things because you're so intentional and joyful and on purpose and present? Or you're like, well, yeah, fatherhood, it's gonna work.
Yeah,
me,
you're right.
and whatever happens. Hopefully, I did a good job. And then your kids are like, well, you're actually, now they're in therapy because you were absent and didn't effort, and you got divorced because you didn't work on your emotions. And there's wisdom and there's the silver lining to whatever path unfolds for each of us. And I think that's the message too, of just be compassionate with whatever path you've walked as a father.
Yeah.
There's something so invigorating and inspiring about being like, this is the number one job in the world. Yeah. And I'm uniquely qualified for this job, and I want to be damn good at it and have the best returns year after year in this profitable business that is my family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I want to hear what you have to say to that too, Noah. Thank you for that, Ravi. I guess in addition to what you just said, like calling in grace and like mistakes and imperfection and shadow, like, trying to be gripping and efforting to be perfect. If you're too worried about throwing the ball from third to first, you're gonna choke. There has to be some room for imperfection and fun, and
I honor that too.
And I mean, it's funny because my L word is love, right? And I think that like love both wants to have fun and play and be lighthearted and carefree, and love also wants health and wholeness and growth. And the reality is that, like, an acorn is perfect as an acorn, and it's perfect as a 10-year-old sapling, and it's perfect as a 30-year-old tree and a 50-year-old tree. And so do we want to, are we still acorns? Are we 20-year-old trees when we're actually 40-year-old men or 50-year-old men, right? Like, are we fully allowing the acorn within us, the oak tree within us, to like mature into what is possible? Because a bigger tree can circulate and move more love through it, and can offer more shade, and can drop more acorns, and can become one day lumber as a legacy and build a house for, and so but it doesn't, but like, it doesn't have to be this like, all right, I'm going to do this now, I'm going to become a great dad. It's like, there might be moments of that, right? But like, there can also be like, I'm going to become a great dad, right? Like, oh, and that means that there's going to be times when, I messed up big time, or like I didn't live in the way that I wanted to, or I didn't respond to that how I wished to. And like, right. That can be okay, right? I think that,
Yeah, and times where you kick back and enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
You know, like I've been working so hard and I'm just gonna enjoy being a dad, you know? And I think my message is just like, if you're listening out there, we'll take you however you are. And whatever you show up with, like, yeah, we want to honor your story, your humanity, whatever you're looking for. Yeah, we want to meet you there. Yeah.
Beautiful transition. Gentlemen, as I love the journey we've been on today, there will be a part 2.
Yes,
we've got to check in once you're halfway or all the way through the 12-week Fathering from the Heart program. Give us the pitch for it one more time so the listeners can hear what the offer and how to track you down and get involved.
Okay. Well, so Fathering from the Heart, it's a 12-week online program. It starts January 12th, so there's plenty of time to...
My father's birthday.
Oh, wow.
You're kidding me.
Cool. And there we're walking people through a journey into more wholeness and more deeper connection with themselves in community. There's actually 3 ways to do it. There's a self-paced version where you kind of get the content and you do it on your own. I don't advise that, but it's there for people who need that. There's going to be a guided journey where we're going to meet live every week. We're going to have counsel sessions online. We're going to have discussion groups online to engage with the content in a more meaningful way. And then the version that I'm almost most excited about is the group-led version, which is where dads anywhere in the country can sign up to this as a small pod.
Or other countries.
Or other countries, right?
We love other countries.
Shout out to the world.
3, 4, 5, 6 guys, and can work with the program almost like an interactive book club. You get the content, you have the discussions, you have the meetings. We have a facilitator's guidebook to help the dads, and maybe that becomes the men's group you've been wanting, or maybe it's just a 12-week kind of thing. And
say the website.
programs.counciloffathers.com is where all the information for Fathering from the Heart is. You can enroll, and we offer discovery calls. So if you're like, oh, you look through the stuff and you're like, oh, this is interesting, but I'm not quite sure, or and not only are there discovery calls free, but if you sign up for discovery call, you get $50 off the tuition.
Amazing.
So I think I'd love for people to reach out and ask any questions. And we're really, really excited about this. We've been working with beautiful groups of men in person here in Boulder for years. And we've been hearing from people all over the place, like, oh, we need to be able to, I don't live here, or like the drive or whatever it is, trying to make it more accessible and available. So.
Well, thank you for the work you've done to put that into place so that it can impact more men, more families.
Thank you, Ravi. I mean, I see you, we're side by side here. We're part of this ecosystem of working to support men and dads. Thank you for, creating this podcast. I've been listening to the episodes, beautiful people coming on here, and you have a really, really special gift around holding space and creating space and sharing what it is that you're here to offer. And it's really, really meaningful and beautiful.
Phew. Receiving that from one man to another. Yeah. Just sit with that for a moment.
Let me add a little bit before you sit.
Sorry, boss.
I just want to say I see like the prep you put in and your skill at tracking and formulating questions, and I really appreciate, there's tons of podcasts out there, and you're really good at interviewing.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate the love bombs to the listeners. If you made it this far, thank you for going on this journey with us. Noah, Dave, again, so grateful for your time. Yovel, our podcast editor, thank you for staying a couple extra minutes today. And if something inspired you in this episode, please reach out to these guys, counciloffathers.com, and to myself, the Peaceful Papa, in all the places. Have a brilliant, beautiful rest of your day, and happy birthday, Osho. You've been listening to the Peaceful Papa podcast. May the wisdom you found here ripple into your being, your family, your community, and the world at large. I look forward to being with you again soon. See you on the next episode.